Hello. Hello, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Hello, Gaurav ji. Hello, Narendra Singh.
Right.
All good? All right. So, good
I
evening,
believe one more
everyone.
person was supposed to join us.
I think the other person is not joining.
Okay.
So, let's start. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this important discussion on should consent in marriage be legally addressed in India. So, basically, marriage is a deeply personal commitment, but it's also a legal institution that affects our rights in relationship. So today we'll discuss critical question of whether our laws adequately protect the concept of consent in marriage. So let me introduce to our panelists. Firstly, we have advocate. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Where is this? Okay. So Mr. Advocate Narendra Singh, a lawyer with expertise in criminal law and NDPS cases, and we have Advocate Gaurav Ghosh, a highly experienced lawyer specialized in constitutional and commercial law. So please allow me 2 minutes. We have to. Just give me 1 second. So I'm just going to play one introductory video of Rest the Case. Just allow me 2 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Rest the Case is a legal aggregator platform, a one-stop solution for all services and information. If you have any legal troubles, want a legal service, or need to consult a legal expert, we can help you. Speak with our registered lawyers available in over 200 plus cities. To consult a lawyer, you can sign up or contact us. Click on Find Lawyer, and filter lawyers by specialization, location, or even PIN code. Get contact details of lawyers instantly and contact the lawyers on the website, call, or email. To speak to our team, call us at 928-429-3610 or drop us an email at info@restthecase.com. If you are not looking for a lawyer, you can browse through our knowledge bank to get legal tips, learn about laws in a simplified manner, and stay updated on legal news. That's not all. Check out our extensive library of document templates to access legal drafts. Just select the template you want, fill out the details, and download it to use. In case of any queries, contact us at 928-429-3610 or info@restthecase.com.
Can't hear you.
Okay, sir. So without any further delay, let's begin our discussion. So let's jump to the first question. What are the legal barriers to criminalizing marital rape in India under the current framework of the Indian Penal Code?
Should I answer?
Yes, yes, please, please, Mr. Gaurav.
Yeah. So the legal barrier is the exception which was there in the earlier Evidence Act, which was exception 2 to section 375, and which has also been carried ahead in the new act, which is the BNS, and that is exception 2 again to section 63. which basically says that the offense of rape is not committed when the forcible sexual act is performed uh, with with a woman who's the married wife
Yes.
and who is above 18 years of age.
Right.
So this is the only embargo right now, which is what has been challenged before the Supreme Court, and the hearings have just been deferred yesterday. We are expecting them to again commence after Justice Chandrachu's retirement.
So, how do you think criminalizing marital rape could alter the landscape of domestic violence?
Right now, the Domestic Violence Act, it recognizes all kinds of violence against a woman in a domestic scenario, whether it is a wife or whether it is a living partner. It recognizes all kinds of violence, including physical, mental, as well as sexual. So when marital rape is criminalized and by removing these exceptions, the only difference will be that it will constitute a separate offense apart from domestic violence. Domestic violence will continue to include physical and mental violence, and the sexual violence aspect of it will be considered as rape, which it should be, as the same as any other woman against whom a non-consensual sexual act is performed.
Okay. And how would criminalizing marital rape affect other aspects of family law, such as divorce and custody battles?
I don't think it would affect the other aspects of family law to a great extent, because family law regarding divorce and regarding custody is already affected by allegations of domestic violence, allegations
Right.
of dowry, allegations of any other kind of harassment. So all these things are factors which courts look into, whether there was a complaint or whether there's a specific plea in the divorce petition regarding domestic violence or harassment, these kind of things. So I think criminalization of marital rape will only add to it in in an academic manner. It won't affect how cases are proceeded when concerned with divorce or compensation or custody. For example, when there is already evidence or allegations of violence against the husband by the wife, then the courts will consider that while awarding compensation or while considering the divorce plea made by the wife. The courts will also consider it when awarding custody of the child. So, in the same way, marital rape will also be considered. It is not going to affect the institution of marriage, which is something of a boogie that the center has also taken up, saying that criminalizing marital rape can affect the institution of marriage. It will interfere into and it will erode the institution of marriage, which I don't believe to be true.
Great, sir. Wonderful. So, can India's current legal infrastructure support the prosecution of marital rape cases without overburdening the courts? So, let's take this with Mr. Narinder Singh. Yes, sir.
Well, I think challenging challenges in defining
No, no.
and proving marital rape is gonna be a huge burden over the court. Reason of it is because the entire criminal law is based on the burden of the proof, and proving the lack of consent within a marriage can be a challenging due to a societal and perceptions of the marital duty and intimacy. So, the victim testimony in the case of marital rapes, like victims may face difficulties in proving, in providing credible testimonies, especially in contexts where the privacy and dignity are at the stake. So, I believe the courts would be overburdened, and additional cases may strain resources further unless measures are taken to the streamline processes. So,
Do you
I
think
think.
these specialized fast track courts can help on all this for training of law enforcement on handling such cases?
Well, even with the current scenario, the courts are overburdened because of the population. There are already a number of cases. There are a lot of pending cases. and if this thing would be recognized as a concept, as an offense, then at that time I think more training and resources would be required. There
Yeah,
is a need of a specialized training for the law enforcement as well, and as well as for the judiciary to handling such sensitive cases to ensure the effective prosecution.
sure, yes, right. So, what do you think? What are the legal challenges in defining and proving marital rape, especially in a marriage where sexual consent is presumed already in our society?
Well, as I told you, the burden of proof, providing the lack of consent within a marriage can be a challenging due to a societal perceptions, because
Yeah,
throughout the time this marriage has been considered as an institution where
yeah,
intimacy and uh, that any sort of intercourse is being considered as a consensual intercourse. Over
right,
there, when you are going to recognize as a concept of to recognize it as a separate offense, at that time the evidentiary standards, I think the clear guidance on what constitute evidence in a marital rape cases are essential to ensure fair trials and convictions. So I think it's in my opinion it's going to be little tough to recognize that very consent was there or not in the view of allegations which is going to be come up if it would be recognized as an offense.
that's right, sir. I totally agree with you. So, how should the central government approach the legal recognition of consent within marriage of India? What challenges might arise in formulating policies around marital consent? What challenges?
Well,
If you
the very first would be the policy development,
yeah,
because the central government should engage with the stakeholders, including legal expert, activists, victims, to formulate the comprehensive policy on the consent. Because otherwise, it would be very vague. Then, public awareness campaigns are required to educate the public about the importance of the consent, even within the marriage. uh, other than that, I think incremental changes, implementing gradual changes such as awareness programs and pilot projects can ease resistance and foster acceptance to the new laws.
so, do you think the criminalization of marital rape could lead to significant social change, especially in rural and traditional communities?
Well, I think in gender roles, traditional views are often position women as a submissive within the marriage. That is what is the traditional approach. And reinforcing the notion that the sexual consent is inherent, this belief can create a resistance to acknowledge the marital rape. Because the stigma in the society is that discussing marital rape may carry a stigma, leading many victims remain silent. And fear of this social stigma can prevent them from seeking legal recourses. So
Yeah,
even though this would be recognized as a concept, still I believe it would require a lot more time to the victims to come up with this, that such an offense has been committed to them, because raising such voice will let them to face the social problems with them.
sure. So, Mr. Gaurav, do you have any opinion on this?
Yes, as much as I agree with Narendra on several points, yes, the police will have to be sensitized more. Probably judicial officers will have to be trained again. And goes without saying that our justice delivery mechanism can do with a lot more resources to handle pendency and burden of new cases. But apart from that, what I would like to say is that the law should be the law should provide the right of an aggrieved right to an aggrieved person to seek recourse, and to think that it will increase burden on the courts, or that these allegations will be difficult to prove. There are also questions of misuse and abuse of the law, which are there regarding any law. Even for domestic violence, there is misuse. Even for UAPA, there is misuse. But to say that the law should not be there, or that bringing the law will be problematic in itself, I think that is wrong. And yes, also Narendra also said that there is social stigma attached, which will affect the way that society deals with criminalization of marital rape. But social stigma is something that has to be dealt with gradually, But this law, I believe, is already overdue. You see, Pakistan enacted this criminalized marital law back in 2012. No complaint was registered till 2018, and it is only this year in March that a conviction has been made under their law. So this is a step that remains for us to be taken, and as one of the more progressive countries, we have had universal adult franchise since the very beginning, whereas much of the West has adopted it much later. So we are, in fact, academically speaking, at least, we are progressive. So as a progressive nation and a democratic country, where we believe in the Constitution and Article 14 and 21 and equality, I think there is no space for these exceptions against rape based on marriage. Are we there?
I think we lost a connection with him.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yes.
you are.
So I was saying, let's talk about some fundamental rights, human rights, and gender equality under the Indian Constitution, Article 14. It's like rape violate a woman's right to equality, right? So how does it affect the woman?
I'm sorry, your question is not clear.
Is it how does the lack of legal recourse for marital rape violate a woman's right to equality? Right to equality under Article 14 and right to life and personal liberty, Article 21
You
under
see,
the
you see, any non-consensual sexual act is an offense.
So basically, it denies women the right to make decision about their own bodies, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, that's what I'm
because
saying.
because of the only fact that they are in a marital relationship, so denying that right to a woman when the perpetrator is her husband, that goes against the principle of equality.
So it's going against the constitution, right?
It goes against the constitution, which enshrines the principle of equality in under article 14.
So do you believe criminalizing marital rape is essential for achieving gender equality in India?
Yes, of course.
Why do you think that?
Because consent in a marriage should not be taken for granted. You see, this entire exception which was carved out under the old penal code regarding exception to rape was based on the fact that women were treated as property of men. We have already crossed that threshold long time back. We have had judgments. We recently we have decriminalized adultery. We have had the Puttaswamy judgment regarding privacy. So we know, we have always known, and we have also recognized in the law through judgments that there is essentially a part of one's character, which character and personality, which is private and which anyone has a right to protect under any circumstances, whether it is your privacy or whether it is your own person or body. That is something that cannot be taken away from you, and especially not by institution of marriage. You cannot say that I have given irrevocable consent by marrying, and that consent stays as long as I stay married. Even even under the Hindu Marriage Act, there is the restitution of conjugal rights, which
Yes.
has also been read down. That restitution of conjugal rights cannot be ordered by court to mean that a woman will resume her sexual relationships with her husband. That is not something that courts can order, even though the law, in a fashion, implied that.
Yes, yes, right. So it would challenge the idea that marriage gives unconditional sexual rights to spouses, right? So thus
Yes,
promoting gender
yes,
equality. But
yes,
don't you
yes.
think, like the other side of it, there will be a lot of fake cases towards those DV Act and all?
That is something that we have to deal with, because you see, there's a
In
principle of
what cases will be more the like if we criminalizing it, like would there be more cases? Then also there will be a lot of cases for that, right?
I didn't understand your question. What?
So basically, if they don't, if there is, if the woman, just give me 1 second. So I think there will be a lot of fake cases.
Yes, the possibility is there. The
Yes.
possibility is there for abuse of every
Then
good thing.
also, I think we would need fast track courts to deal with it.
Well, I don't know what to comment specifically in this aspect, but generally speaking, I don't think that we should have fast track courts and specialized tribunals, because that really doesn't lead to anything. We should have a better judicial system. We should have more judges, which is fundamentally the need of the hour. We should have more judges per population, and we should have a judiciary that functions faster and better generally. Not for can't have fast track courts for marital rape and have slow track courts for every other crime, right? So we need to generally strengthen our judicial delivery mechanisms.
Sure. So we have some questions from our audience. Let's take them one by one. So first is from Mr. Nitin. What specific legal reforms do you believe are necessary to address marital consent? Mr. Narendra, would you like to add something on this?
Sure.
What specific legal reforms do you believe are necessary to address marital consent?
Well, the very first supposed to be the criminalization of the marital rape, because it's required to be explicitly defined in the criminalized marital rape in the in Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita in BNS. First of all, that inclusion is required. Afterwards, that comprehensive consent laws are also required to be drafted by the legislative, because develop clear legal definition is very much required to actually recognize it as an offense. Other than that, there's supposed to be some victim support service as well, to implement legal provisions that ensure access to support services for the victims. Then training the law enforcement is also required, because these mandate training programs, because it's going to be a sensitive offense where wife is alleging husband she's been raped by a husband. At that time, recognizing consent is going to play a very crucial role. Other than that, I think judicial reforms are also required. uh, uh, Establishing fast track court could be a one way to ensure the timely justice, because even if we go with this way that there would be fake cases, then those cases supposed to be disposed of as quickly as possible, because we don't want that at the same time we recognize this as an offense and it would overburden the courts, uh, as it's already overburdened. So that reduce the burdens, I think certain judicial reforms are also required.
Great, great answer, sir. I hope Nitin, this answers your query. Let's take another one from Mr. Ashish Patil. So this is what challenges do legal profession face in addressing consent issues in marriage? So Mr. Gaurav, would you like to add on this something? What challenges do legal profession face in addressing consent issues in marriage?
The challenge is the burden and the manner of proving the lack of consent, because of the nature of the relationship and the act itself. Whether there was consent or not is anyway difficult to prove, even if in case of rape, which is outside a marriage.
Right.
So, in that we have developed a jurisprudence where we take the woman's accusations and testimony, we presume them to be true, and work from there. I think we will have to hold the same standards after criminalizing marital rape also.
Yeah.
And for that, there's another legal embargo which has to be crossed. That there's a provision in the Older Evidence Act which says that past conduct and character cannot be considered while appreciating evidence regarding commission of a crime. So this has to
You
be
think
read.
past character should is not considered?
Yes, past character and conduct is not considered while appreciating evidence for a crime that the accused has been charged with. This provision has to be read down when it comes to, especially when it comes to offenses like marital rape, because you cannot prove marital rape without either entirely accepting the complainant's version as truth, or without looking at other circumstances and previous behavior of the accused, whether the accused has been violent previously, whether there were charges of domestic violence or harassment, uh, what is the criminal record of the accused. I think all of these things have to be looked into for a holistic view, which the courts can then form. I think it's more a challenge for the judges than for the counsel.
Oh, great, great.
And this is the true for places where marital rape has already been criminalized, such as the UK and the US, South Africa,
Right.
everywhere.
So let's jump into another question, is from Pratibha Raj. How can individuals advocate for their right regarding consent in the marriage? Let's listen this from Mr. Narendra Singh. How can individuals advocate for their rights regarding consent in marriage, sir?
I think by educate themselves, understanding the legal definitions and implication of the consent is very, very crucial. And knowledge empowers the individual to recognize their right and those to others. Raising awareness is another thing, and engaging in community initiatives like participating in local workshops, seminars. I think that can also contribute. Other than that, collaborate with NGO, like partner with the non-governmental organizations that focus on women rights, promote educations in schools,
Hmm.
and encourage open conversation is very crucial, because an environment is required to be fostered to discussion about the consent, and the rights are normalized. Open conversations can challenge outdated belief and encourage mutual respect.
I
So,
would just like to add to what Narendra was saying.
yes,
Uh,
please.
I agree with what he's saying about educating oneself and participating in society, in civil society discussions and all of that. But I think Pratibha's question itself is problematic when she asks, how can individuals advocate for their rights regarding consent in marriage? The first thing you need to understand is that is exactly what the petitioners before the Supreme Court are fighting against, that there is no right to consent just because you are in a marriage.
Hmm.
A consent is either given or it is not. It cannot be demanded.
It cannot be demanded. That's true, sir. So let's go into the next question from Mr. Tejas Kaikwad. What role do you think education plays in marriage consent? What do you
I
think,
think
Mr.?
apart from kindness, general kindness, compassion, and respect, I think education plays the largest role when it comes to consent, because
Yes.
culturally we are not a very individualistic rights-based society. We are more into public morality and cultural duties and responsibilities, which are inherent both in our culture and are also codified uh, by colonial laws. So I think education is the only way through which uh, we and the public in general can open our minds to concepts of individual rights, of equality of women, and better align ourselves to constitutional morality.
Sure. Great answer, sir. Let's go into the next question from Mr. Ambuj Tiwari. Uh, let's listen it to you. Can we have some examples related to the same legal scenario but in foreign countries, Mr. Narendran?
Uh, well, when it comes to the foreign countries, this concept of marital rape has been recognized by United Kingdom, South Africa, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand as well. And there must be some more countries as well, but like particularly when it
Is
comes to
Nepal one
UK,
of them? Nepal? No.
I'm not sure of that is Nepal is there or not, but
Okay.
the countries that are named, I'm sure of that these over
UK,
there the
South
concept of
Africa.
marital, Canada and Australia.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So in UK particularly, it has been recognized in 1991, and because of a landmark judgment, that judgment is R versus R, where the wife has alleged to the husband that she has been raped, and later on, because of that judgment, this concept came up in UK, and this marital rape as an offense has been recognized by them. Same has been done by the South Africa in sexual offense related matters, and it's been done way back in Canada as well. I think around 1980s. The legal reforms highlighted that the consent must be informed and voluntarily applying equally to the married and unmarried individuals.
So basically, India can learn from their legal framework, right? With the
Well,
countries like
India may have a possessive value because culturally we are way more different than these Western countries.
yeah.
And over here, the concept of the marriage, especially when it comes to in the social minds of the people, is way more different, because over here we still consider it as an institution. So what is going to be the implications of recognizing it as an offense, that is required to be foreseen by the courts. And as Mr. Gaurav has told us that this matter is currently listed before the Supreme Court. It has been deferred, and again it would be commenced after the retirement of Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. So let's see, like, what would be the decision of the Supreme Court over it.
But how can we balance the protection of individual rights with cultural sensitivity when it comes to marital rape laws? Because India is very cultural, sensitive. What do you think on this? How can we balance it?
Well, when it comes to balance it, at the same time, my personal opinion is that still the marriage is institution, but what is wrong is wrong.
Maybe through some educational campaigns and all, right? With respect to cultural values while emphasizing the importance of consent.
Well, this is required to be educated to the society, as like still I believe uh, the most of the society of India is illiterate. They are not very well aware of this concept that the character of the woman in a marriage is supposed not to be a submissive character,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
consent supposed not to be irrevocable. So I think that consent supposed to be there, and it's supposed to be very well recognized as well, and for that a lot of awareness is required.
So basically, the focus should be on protecting individual rights without framing the conversation as an attack on cultural practices.
True.
So, do you think the criminalization of marital rape could lead to significant social change, especially in rural and traditional communities? It's implemented, right?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
I think we have already spoke about the gender equality and human rights.
Yeah.
So I think it will bring significant change. There's no doubt. Whatever changes there will be significant just because of the way we were just talking about balancing cultural cultural norms and expectations and criminalizing marital rape and non-consent within a marriage. So as Narendra was pointing out, that what is wrong is wrong. If our culture stands against that, then we have to reform that part of our culture. But as far as the significance and the extent of the effect of this kind of a law on general society, rural society is concerned, yes, the impact will be significant. But because of how things proceed, it will obviously be gradual.
Great. So, how should the burden of proof be handled in marital rape cases, considering the private nature of marital relationship?
Well, I
In,
think
Yeah,
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 please.
please.
Gaurav, you go on. Yeah.
Yeah, Gaurav, let's go ahead.
Yeah, I think in the same way that rape is handled under the new Evidence Act, that what we are trying to do is we are doing away with an exception that is there in the law. So once we do away with that exception, the way that we handle burden of proof, the way that we handle evidence and testimony and sentencing, I think that should all be synchronized with the existing law of rape and how it is proved under the BNSS and how it is penalized under the BNS.
So,
I,
for
I
me,
think I think
what
that any
what
any
safe? Sorry, sorry, sorry.
I think any minds brainstorming to carve out further exceptions or further rules to specially qualify these allegations, or to have a special formula for proving or disproving these allegations, I think uh, that will be against the very purpose of criminalizing marital rape by doing away with the exception.
So I just want to ask, what safeguards can be put in place to prevent misuse of marital rape laws, like such as false allegation, like for justice for genuine victims? What safeguards can be put? What do you think on that?
We already have a developing jurisprudence which has been in the news very recently about abusing domestic violence laws, about false complaints of sexual harassment, false complaints of rape, where the complainant, once the complaint has been found to be false, or where the complainant has been found to be serially accusing people with false and other motivations to make these accusations, they have been taken to task by the court and by have been persecuted against. So, first of all, this jurisprudence is there. Second, there are already safeguards within the Evidence Act and the Criminal Procedure Code and the new law also, which provide safeguards to the accused. So to think that by bringing in such a law, it is something that the men's rights groups are trying to highlight, that by bringing in such a law, we put all married men in danger of facing these accusations and getting unjustified criminal records. I think that is unreasonable. I think the safeguards are already there.
So, do you think the criminalization of marital rape would change the way Indian society perceives marriage, especially in terms of power dynamics between spouses? Let's hear it from you, Mr. Narendra.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah. So I'm asking, do you think the criminalization of marital rape would change the way Indian society perceives marriage, especially in terms of power dynamics between spouses?
Yes, obviously, because
Yeah.
currently the most accepted belief is, and in fact, it's not a belief; it's established a fact that currently the marriage has been considered as an institution. And I think when the marital rape would be recognized as an offense, at that time, this I think the marriage is a personal marriage would be considered as a personal, not as an institutional, and the sexual choices and the consent are essential attributes to the autonomy. So yes, that very scenario is going to be changed, and I think that change would be welcomed by the most of us as well, because this thing has been discussed in India from a very long time, and finally the matter has been reached to the Supreme Court. So yes, I think there is going to be a serious disturbances when it comes to, and that's going to impact the conjugal relationships of people.
So basically, it would challenge the notion that marriage gives unconditional rights over a partner's body, thereby
Yes,
promoting a more equal and respectful relationship between spouses.
exactly.
Right. So I think we have had a very great discussion. Would you like to add anything on this?
I would just like to add that this law, this doing away with this exception, is something that has been overdue, and we will welcome how the Supreme Court deals with it.
All right. Okay, sir. Thank you all for joining us today for this important discussion on marital consent in India. We have heard valuable insights from our panelists about the need for legal reforms to better protect individual rights within the marriage. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Good evening to
Thank
both of
you.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.